more thrust than the earlier C model. It also carries about 30% more internal fuel, and that extra power means it can accelerate far more quickly at high altitudes. The airframe has been strengthened, meaning a full 9G capability is it can carry hard points, of which there are 10, able to carry
drive remote. Okay. Yep.
To air roll. And the short landing you see here is part of the development requirement, which was for the aircraft to operate from snow-covered landing strips, which is 500 meters. All of this will be achieved without reverse thrust, without a drogue chute, just a pair of enormous carbon fibre brakes.
Had the aircraft flown for us today by Saab
Because it took a while to get the floor up after the day, but then I thought it was just whatever.
But now, as Martin Donaldson taxis along the runway, we're getting ready for one of the real high points of the Riat 25 flying programme. It's the first of our national display teams for the day, and the man who's going to describe it to you is Maggiore Giovanni Lopresti.
Gentlemen, good morning on behalf of the Aeronautica Militare and the Italian Air Force official aerobatic team of Frecce Tricolori. Welcome to Fairford for today's official exhibition during this Royal International Air Tattoo 2025. E permetteteci l'occasione con qualche parola in italiano di salutare tutti coloro che parlano la nostra lingua, in particolare tutti i nostri connazionali e gli amici del club Frecce Tricolori che sempre ci seguono con grande affetto nelle nostre trasferte in Italia come all'estero. These few words in our language were to salute Italian speaking people and to say a special thank you to our fellow countrymen and to our friends of the many clubs of Frecce Tricolori enthusiasts which always follow us with affection in Italy and abroad. This is the 65th fifth aerobatic season for Frecce Tricolori, a very important season marked by this important anniversary. We are going to celebrate it in September the 6th and the 7th in our home base of Rivolto, Friuli Venezia Giulia, northeast of Italy. Tricolori official aerobatic team is an Italian Air Force squadron whose assigned task is to represent values, professionalism, technology and team working capability of Italian armed forces while exporting made in Italy worldwide. Everything is ready, a few moments to go. Performing takeoff checks and engine run up, the pressurization, ladies and gentlemen, the green, white and red of the Italian flag. We would like to begin our show standing and singing loudly with the emotional notes of our national anthem. ready to welcome Frecce Tricolori 2025. Let's go up, addressed to his wingman by the voice of Pony One, and this will be the great separation of the cardioid. Alternation solo main formation is giving the pressing rhythm to the exhibition of Frecce Tricolori, and so 8 aircraft to the left, 1 coming from the right. Solo pilot again with another maneuver along the straight line. Main formation is coming again, Pony is ready to perform the next maneuver narrated by Major Raspa.
Andiamo in diretta, quello del terra. Colorati, via. Esterni, pensiero, via. Torno.
Green with red, this was the wingman roll, and then Apollo 313. Motion, because this will be the art of Frecce Tricolori, and it's gonna be accompanied by the magic voice of Andrea Bocelli. Away to the right, drawing a giant cowboy lasso, and from the same direction, main formation is coming again, ready to introduce you second left and right wingman. To the left in a while, changing again its shape, but let's look again for the solo pilot on the right with his close and rudder pedals to maintain aircraft a perfectly uniform. This time it will be a right-handed roll performed in a configuration increasing considerably the difficulty of execution of this maneuver. The formation rotates gently around this axis as if it were a single giant airlifter along about 200 feet. This was the graceful right banner roll double H formation. the chance to take a picture of our Mike Charlie 39 tricolor belly during this low-speed Schneider tune with aero brake extended. Between aircraft conducted exclusively visually by the pilots of French Tricolori, while from the left, again, the solo is coming from what is probably the most renowned figure in his repertory. Synthesis of skills handed down from pilot to pilot and technical features of the MB339. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the spectacular, crazy flight. It's going to be another split landing, but in a good section, so that's the perfect occasion to introduce you once again our pilots one by one, starting from our leader, pony number 1, Major Pierluigi Raspa, then the first left wingman, pony number 2, Captain Emanuele Barnuzzi, then pony number 3, Captain Giovanni Morello. Then the second left wingman is pony number 4, Major Oscar Del Do. Pony number 5 is Captain Leonardo Leo. Touchdown a few seconds for the second section and then pony number 7, Captain Luca Pozzani. Pony number 8, Captain Luca Battistoni. It wasn't flying today, but let's clap your hands please also for our second slot, pony number 9, Captain Alessandro Sambarima. Last but not least, our solo pony number 10, Major Federico De Cecco. And French Tricolori's flight continues on the web. Follow Italian Air Force, the Aeronautica Militare, on all major social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook. Attending one of our engagements during this 65th aerobatic season. And that's all from us today. We really thank you for your attention as we say grazie Air Force, see you tomorrow, arrivederci.
And thank you to all the members of the brilliant Frecce Tricolori. Great to have you back at Riat for 2025. And you'll be able to meet the team at the Meet the Pilots area towards the eastern end of the showground in 2 hours from now at 2 o'clock. Next up, we're going to be getting the RAF Chinook into the air before our next display item, which also comes from the Italian Air Force.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Estimated collision in T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10.
These are lovely little things. This is that when you take it to the 150 or whatever it was.
Okay, well, with the Chinook having departed, we're straight on with our next item, and Mike Palumbo is once again here to tell you about it. Mike, over to you.
Everything's ready. Green light. Down. Flaps down, gear out, speed trimmed to a crawl, but aircraft stays rock steady. This is control at the edge of stall. Coming up next, a minimum radius turn, tight, compact, bury any room needed. You'll see the 346 flip direction in just a few seconds. Do the job. Mobility and efficiency. Too. But the master is just a part of a much broader, advanced training system based in Decimomannu, a little bit of town, take it away, in sunny Sardinia. That's where the International Flight Training School shapes tomorrow's fighter pilots. Over 100 graduates so far, 33 in the last year, from 12 nations. Isn't just waiting their maneuver, they are waiting their maneuver. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, shaped by what our experience allows to see. 4-point roll. Down the narrow, one clean line, control, symmetry, discipline. Allow me a quick word on Dario Del Nero that must master display pilot. He's not just sharp in the cockpit. Well, he comes from noble stock, you know, handsome, wealthy, and yet still single, waiting for the perfect match. So if Jane knows his well at the practical and outdoor steps, but it only feels right to borrow one of her most famous lines. It's a truth universally acknowledged that a single pilot in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife. That pretty much sums it up, so to whom it may...
And there she goes. Turn your eyes to the skies and wrap your mince pies around the Chinook 2025 roll demonstration. We're deployed operationally all over the world and the go-to aircraft for rapid insertion and extraction of troops in dangerous locations. As the defence adage goes, the answer is two Chinooks. What is the question? This is applied ever since the Chinook joined the RAF in 1980 and is true today as it was then. Cal started the show by pulling the aircraft back for a wing over, rapidly turning back onto target, trading speed for height and back again. The crew are now preparing to drop their troops off onto target. As the aircraft runs in for a downwind quick stop, they'll be simulating a late spot of a landing site to offload troops and the vehicle, either on or off the battlefield. The crew needs to be efficient in recceing their landing site, making sure it's suitable to land on in the minimum time possible to avoid excess threat exposure. Each of these is capable of firing 3,000 rounds a minute. That's 50 rounds a second if you can't do maths, and makes one hell of a noise. The Chinook and its crew can deter engagements, protecting their passengers and any troops on the ground. Completing the Chinook operational conversion course, he was posted to RAF Odeon in 2018. He's got over 2,000 hours, 1,400 of which are on Chinook, and most recently deployed on Operation Shader. He's a qualified helicopter instructor, and when he's not throwing the Chinook around, he's throwing weights around in the gym. Cal's dedicating his display today to the memory of his granddad, who sadly passed earlier this year.
Just bring them because...
On co-pilot today, if it can be rigged, the Chinook and the hookers can take it. Being such a capable aircraft, it can even lift another Chinook, albeit with a couple of bits saved on the cut off to save a little weight. With a maximum all-out mass of 24.5 tons, this absolute powerhouse can comfortably fit 30 troops inside. It's seated on 4 meters, left out up towards 50. The raw power and versatility of the Chinook is all down to its iconic tandem rotor design. It provides huge amount of lift, a large cabin, and is all achieved without any of that dangerous messing about with tail rotors that frankly we Chinook parts want no part of. That Walker is a decent side effect too. Anyway, while the crew demonstrate an unsung load circuit, let's talk about our hooking team. Leading JHSF today we have Corporal Jordan, who served 9 years with the British Army Air Corps. Having served the majority of his time within 656 Squadron, working as ground crew on Apache, he's deployed to a variety of places, including Cyprus, Jordan, Norway, and 25 Chinook roll demonstration. See ya!
Thank you very much, Rob, and we look forward to the Chinook's party. Tomorrow's programme here at Riat 25.
Say that again, Gary? Hello, you still there?
And so, as the Chinook returns to parking, we turn to our operational theme for Riat 25, Eyes in the Skies, covering all manner of aerial surveillance, reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, search and rescue, the whole gamut covered by that phrase. And we're not just paying tribute to the activities of reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, search and rescue crews and so forth in the present day at this year's show. We've also got some nods to the past, and it's to the history of aerial reconnaissance in the RAF that we turn with our next item.
Let us know.
RAF officer provided a great deal of extremely valuable photographic intelligence. And here we see two Spitfires, a PR-11 and PR-19, running in on the right.
Away. Chase car. Get blocked the taxi.
See one very impressive transport aircraft displayed today from the Italian Air Force C-27J Spartan. Well, while what we're going to see next is not fully aerobatic, it is very, very impressive indeed. On the runway from Lufttransport Geschwader, or Air Transport Wing 62 of the German Air Force at Wunstorf, is an aeroplane very familiar in these parts due to the presence of so many of them as part of the RAF. A400
Is it the border level? No. Is that controlled from the Malone Tunnel line?
Demonstrating there what was called a max effort takeoff, which is accelerating to beyond the rotate speed and then accelerating a further 30 knots before lifting the nose wheel off. Absolutely, another example of what is not just airshow flying but a tactical demonstration, and in this instance protection of the aircraft from ground fire in contested areas.
1100 shaft horsepower Eurocrop International TP400 turboprop This aircraft first flew towards the tail end of 2009, and of which the current 178 examples have so far been ordered, and Germany is the largest customer with 53 of them. So we've got the undercarriage extended now, 14 wheels and tyres, optimised to allow the aircraft to operate from unprepared strips at high weights.
The A400 is sized between the C-130 Hercules and the Boeing C-17 Globemaster. However, it can carry significantly heavier loads than the C-130 and can use rough landing strips, as seen here with the
Carried out a troop lift from the base for the entire fleet at Wunstorf to Mazar-e-Sharif in Afghanistan, and also Germany was the first user of this type to declare it operational in the air-to-air refuelling role, because the A400M can also act as a tanker. Now, hopefully, we're going to see the aircraft establishing itself in a typical airdrop configuration on the next pass, with the rear cargo ramp open and the door, slowing the aircraft to around 115 knots.
So Ben, I've just come off the phone to the Met Office, a gradually improving picture, I think you'll be glad to know. Met Office currently showing 260 and 3 knots, which is effectively lightning variable. Visibility in excess of 10 kilometres, with a cloud about 1 or 2 octaves at 1,500 feet. You can see the light pumping stuff you can see, with a main base capacity of 5,500 feet. That puts it well within the capabilities for most of what we're about to see, certainly rolling shows, if not the full display. Looking ahead to the rest of the forecast day is pretty much as you see it. That's the basic weather. But occasionally between now and the rest of the flying period, about a 40% chance of 4,000 metres in showers of rain. But nothing too much to worry about. And if you look to the south, which is where the weather is coming from,
time for our next rotary wing display, the Sikorsky HK forces have deployed. They served in Panama in Operation Just Cause in '89. Hundreds of them were deployed to the Gulf and used for airborne assaults in the ground phase of 1991's Operation Desert Storm. They served in large numbers in Somalia, in the Balkans, in Afghanistan, in Iraq again, and they have always been in action or in service with a large number of units of US Army Europe in Germany.
Imagine the pressure flight.
And they were operating. See, they've got the couple of on the side. See them? They fall off.
I'm behind
This is the UH-60M model, which has more powerful versions of the General Electric T701 turboshaft engine. Sweden originally decided to buy the Black Hawk as an interim measure while it was waiting for delivery of NH90s. All 15 that it ordered were delivered within 16 months. The procurement became permanent and they deployed them straight away to Afghanistan for medical evacuation tasks, for which a Black Hawk could take 4 stretcher cases and 2 accompanying doctors.
Sensor on the nose, synthetic aperture radar, and the data link on the back of the airplane. There's a small satellite dish in that teardrop shape that takes the information that comes into the airplane and puts it through a satellite architecture to a ground station where they can disseminate the information to the appropriate commanders. Another unique thing that you're never going to see at another air show is a gear up pass.
It's done, I believe, with the senior span pod, isn't it, on this one, which is rather than the super pods. What about the nose configuration of this one? Because I know they carry different examples of that as well, don't they?
There are different noses that they can put on the air, talking the pilot down. Now, what they're doing there is they're telling the pilot how far above the runway they are, typically from 10 feet down to the runway. And we count down in 2s, 10, 8, 6, and so on. The rate at which the mobile officer is making those calls tells the pilot a lot as to how he needs to react. And he's more than just a radar altimeter. You can tell the pilot more left rudder, left rudder.
And there we can see the car entering the runway.
in the more standard fit in the static park. That's right, the clean airplane is that we usually use for pattern operations is over in static, and you can absolutely go take a look at that. And again, where else will you see that? They can also take a look at your airplane. It happens to be sitting fairly close by. It's a 1939 Fairchild Argus. That's right. People didn't know. Well, Popeye, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Do thank the crew who put on that demonstration, and we hope the wind conditions are suitable for a repetition tomorrow. Let's hope it does. Scott Thompson there, helping me talk through a tremendous exhibition of the U2S. One that's constantly evolved to keep pace with changing requirements in the world of aerial surveillance and reconnaissance. One that its creators could never surely have imagined would remain in service 70 years after its maiden flight. Now we turn to another facet of our Eyes in the Skies theme for Riat 25, namely search and rescue. It's 80 years this year since helicopter search and rescue operations began, and we're reflecting that during the displays. We saw the Czech Sokols earlier in the programme, and now here's a familiar helicopter in unfamiliar colours, the Leonardo Merlin of the Portuguese Air Force.
Search and rescue cover for in Europe. In fact, Portugal is responsible for the second largest.
I know.
Yes, and that's an area of responsibility for search and rescue that stretches from Portugal's own coastline well out into the middle of the Atlantic, and it takes in the major air and sea routes to North America, so it's got to be well equipped with rescue helicopters, quite apart from the sheer size of that area, and with the Merlin it certainly is.
Good demonstration there of a really rapid yaw rate. As the aircraft sits in front of you for what they call the Cardinal's public greeting. This will be followed by a max performance vertical climb. A 90-degree right turn.
So then, the final pass from the Leonardo AW101 Merlin Mark 514 of the Portuguese Air Force's Esquadra 751. And of course, the more very familiar with UK service. Royal Navy, you can see one of the Royal Navy's Merlin HM2 maritime helicopters in the static. Theme, and we're next going to be seeing, it's just been cleared to take off, an aircraft going off not immediately to display, but going off to the hold. An incredibly rare sight this in a British flying display, not one we've seen at the Air Tattoo for a long time. It's entering the runway now at the right hand end. It's from the French Navy. It's an incredibly charismatic machine, and it allows us to hear an engine note that you simply don't hear, I think, from any other operational aircraft these days, the Rolls-Royce Tyne. Very dependable turboprop engine which has equipped this type through all of its various incarnations, but this is the modern example, the Dassault Atlantique ATL2. from the French Navy. It's from Flotille 23F, stationed at Vain-Buet, near Lorient.
Continuation of a very sort of maritime fleet now. I see the search and rescue element with the Atlantic about to get airborne, of course the RAF Poseidon supplies.
Before coming back to perform a really, really good display.
I'm going to go back if this comes
Put an iron lock on over here. Back up there, the red shirt's coming.
M84 Harpoon anti-shipping missile. When the RAF axed the Nimrod MRA-4 programme in 2010, Britain initially didn't have a maritime patrol capability for some while, but that all changed in 2015 with the procurement of this, running in from the right, the Boeing Poseidon MRA-1 from number 120 Squadron at RAF Rotterdam. On-station presence. And another important role, as I said, is search and rescue support. The Nimrods were famed for performing that, and the Poseidon, which we saw the weapons bay open on earlier, can drop search and rescue kit from that weapons bay, which activates on hitting the water. In for its second pass now. Rescue kit, but it had to return to France before taking part in the public weekend. So great to see it back with us now, running in for a really good demonstration of its charisma and its qualities, the Dassault Atlantique ATL2. Original Atlantic in French Navy service. And here a really nice view of the upper surfaces. And in terms of weapons, it can carry the AM-39 Exocet air-to-service missile, depth chargers and torpedoes, but with a capacity for a further 12 passengers or a relief crew, in order to make use of its 18-hour endurance and exceptional 9,000 kilometre ferry range. And look out now for the forward turret. Complete with dummy Exocet missile. Recent deployments have been to the Philippines as part of the Clemenceau 25 mission to the Pacific with the French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle and its carrier strike group, to Djibouti for sorties over the Red Sea, to the Persian Gulf. There have been Black Sea operations out of Romania and Bulgaria, operations over the Mediterranean from Greece, and over Cyprus, the Baltic, the North Sea and the Atlantic. Bringing the aircraft in now for a search and rescue support configured pass.
I'm going to do is, when he's going to do room, then he's going to come across the piano keys back in, like.
Working alongside RAF driver radar. So also we provide a safe environment during the work, safety days prior to the public going and on surveys such as this to support flying the spray director in delivering the best air in the world. But of course, it doesn't finish there, and on Monday there are in excess of 200 aircraft that will disperse in every corner of the globe. So who are these people? Well, firstly, they are all professional air traffic controllers from around the country, this year with 14 people representing Heathrow volunteers, many of whom have been giving up their time for nearly 20 years to ensure that this display runs smoothly. They form a critical part of the 1,500 volunteers from all walks of life that come back to RAF Fairford year after year. Now, of course, there are voluntary roles available for people from all walks of life and all skill sets, without which Riat just would not be possible, or indeed the excellent work of the RAF Charitable Trust in its mission to promote...
Your demo pilot, Major Maciej Krakowian, with over 1,500 hours on fast jets and a man on a mission to bring the role of Mighty Viper to the UK skies. On the ground, our technical team, opened with even longer experience in taking care of every...
Tiger.
Buckle up, Riat. The Tiger is ready. approximately 120 miles per hour. And at this field, he will set full afterburner and start. Get ready to take the stunning photos because finally say goodbye to class.
Like a taxi, woo!
It is a really
That's a nice little approach, you know.
Well, thank you very much to Slav and to Major Richard Seiler for talking you through
No, they'll
that
do the fly cross
display.
ram, and then I think they do the display,
Well,
and then
now
it comes in the
sustainability is
windshield
increasingly
afterwards,
being
doesn't it?
important to us at the Royal International Air 2 and across the
You said
Royal
it was an
Air Force. So
F-35
here's
and
an
that was
interview
your mum that did?
with our sustainability director in relation to the Red Arrows displays this weekend and something a bit pioneering.
Okay, please tell me what you do here at Riat. So I'm the sustainability director of the Royal Air Force Charitable System. What does that involve for you? So throughout the year we do all the planning for the volunteers, that's food, the accommodation, recruitment, and we do campaigns, staff, and also on sustainability, we're looking at how to make improvements, understanding where our impacts are, and what initiatives we'd like to introduce. Right, and what have we introduced for this year, Riat 2025? So sustainability,
Third time was it?
this year we've got the Red Arrows flying with sustainability.
It's a good one, it's what to say.
Absolutely. And then we've also got virtual aerospace display, which again I understand is
Exactly. And with the Red Arrows, how important is it to have someone as big as the Red Arrows are to be converting to biofuel?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, you know, our parent charity, the Charitable Trust, is about inspiring the next generation. And we're committed to showcasing brands with sustainability. So how can community say this?
I'm going to introduce again the pilot, Bengo, Major Bengo, Squadron Commander, and one of the most experienced pilots in the Spanish Air Force. And by the way, it seems we brought some proper Spanish weather to Riat today. So, hold on to your hats and your cameras, because in just a few seconds, Bengo will own the sky. Don't forget to visit us then. Meet Bengo, take pictures, and ask your questions. We'd love to see you. And now, one last big round of applause for Bengo, ladies and gentlemen. And
And thank you very much to First Lieutenant Alex Santos. What an exciting display, very much worth the wait. Newest aeroplane, the Boeing Wedgetail AW1, the RAS version of Boeing's E7 Wedgetail, airborne early warning and control variant of the 737-700. And here they come, in from the right, the Wedgetail and the red arrows. Another Riat.
Please, put your hands together for the 2025 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team. It's the Arriving at over 400 miles per hour, Red One pulls them up, keeps pulling them up, which means he started the show full. And instantly you see 6 and 7 sit behind Red One. It's tornado time! The aboard call is made from Red's 9 as Red's 8 and 9 roll around the rest of the formation, but watch for the colour change as Red 1 brings them down the line. Joining me as every show is Circus 10 to film the show for safety and debriefing purposes. And today, that is AS1 Emily Muir. Once again, we've joined into our Diamond 9. This will be your last opportunity in the Diamond 9 before we start the second half. So once again, from the left in our Diamond 9, it's the Red Arrow. As we go into the second half, we start the second half, which is a more heart-pumping, joy-dropping part of the show, with the 5-horse sprint. And in the second half, we break down the two distinct sections. On the left-hand side, you have Reds 1 through 5, known as Enid, named after Enid Blyton's famous 5. And from the right, Reds 6, 7, 8 and 9, known as Hannah. Named after squad leader Ray Hanna, one of the first members of the Red Arrows, he took the team from a 7 to a 9 and formed our world famous Diamond 9. Enid from the left, Hannah from the right, 4, 5. Keep your eye on Enid to the right hand side.
that was not butter.
Should we go Mr. Greedy?
Yeah, when you get
Serving every domain in every part of the world.
so bland.
We are Lockheed Martin.
Absolutely beautiful. This one's Kevin a bit high, it's going to be off.
Tremendous.
Particularly stunning.
That far one and
Wholesome to one's heart. Oh, last one.
I like that. That is something I would never forget.
I know. That easy jet.
So, did you have anything now?
It's easy jet.
So, the Red Arrows flying, remember, on sustainable aviation fuel for the first time at a public air show this weekend. Roll out. It's time once again to welcome back national awareness of the aerial battle space. And what you'll see on the spine of the aircraft is a large fin housing the Northrop Grumman meter, multi-role electronically scanned array sensor. This and the onboard communications suite allow the 10-strong mission crew to provide tactical control to other assets using voice communications and the tactical data link. And it's able to track airborne and maritime targets simultaneously. In from the right then, the new Wedgetail AW1. And this, of course, a bit of a surprise act today. We intended to see it yesterday. There was a technical issue which prevented that, but everyone's shown great flexibility in bringing it into the programme today. And here it is, in from the right for a go.
You should take him off with that, isn't it?
Alright. What was in the next one?
Oh, I'm forgetting it's just on this.
Well, what a splendid sight. Boeing test pilot Glenn Wilcox and RAF number 56 Squadron test pilot, Squadron leader Angus Lilly, giving us the first public demonstration of the RAF's Wedgetail AW1. Next up, we're going to be getting the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight's Arrow Lancaster into the air to meet up with its two.
You did that.
We're going to turn up with them there.
Particularly the cases they converted to their current equipment, one of the finest unlimited aerobatic mounts in the world. 4 examples of the extra EA330LX are now on the runway at the right-hand end of the airfield, representing, as they have done on so many past occasions, the Asherman Kingdom of Georgia nation, with which Riat enjoys the closest bonds forged over many decades.
their takeoff roll. Those extra EA330 LXs of the Royal Jordanian Falcons getting airborne to initially positioned before tipping in for a really high quality 4-ship aeronautic display. And pulling up behind them as the team begins to roll upright. As I say, the team comes from what's known officially as the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and the manoeuvre they're setting up for now is called the Hashemite break. Break, go, calls the leader. He pulls vertical as the two wingmen go off to either side. The wingman I haven't talked about yet is Captain Ahmad Al-Huda, a Queen's Own Air College graduate who's flown the F5 and the F-16. He's been a member of the Royal Jordanian Falcons since 2013. Extras all over the sky at the moment, but they'll shortly be reforming to extras then recovering to Fairford. A wonderful display by the Royal Jordanian Falcons, but now we're heading back in time to World War II and to the Royal Air Force once again, and the sight we are delighted to be seeing, because as Mark was saying, we weren't sure whether the Lancaster was going to make it. Indeed, it didn't make it into yesterday's display, but it made a spectacular arrival here last night. Very pleasant and correct for it to take its rightful place at the helm of our next display. They're going to be running in from behind us. It's going to be a proud rear arrival and a chance to enjoy magnificent engine notes and those who are in 6 rolling going in harmony. The three aircraft, Arrow Lancaster 1, or the Hurricane 2C, and the world's only Jimmy Battle of Britain.
dalam. Yan aja. Coba dia.
We turn to the RAF of the present, and you'll again need to look behind you for the run-in. It's a new start to the display by this wonderful fast jet for the 2025 display season for number 29 Squadron, the Eurofighter Typhoon MGR-4, in the hands of Squadron Leader Nathan Scheuer.
inner ear into a bit of spin. Quite often, pilots would then do a roll in the opposite direction just to calm the fluid down, but not lengthen. The maximum speeds to 0.95 or 600 knots, whichever is virtually identical to fossil derived fuel. And it's made using a range of renewable components such as cooking oil, fats, plant oil, agricultural and forestry waste and so on. Majority of SAF estimate the range of this biomass and fossil fuel, but ultimately it has the potential to produce also like to say, the scientific display that is very much very close to our flying politics for the Belgian people, like Paul Bayer and our current Vice President, the very former Director of Education, set up in 1983 as a memorial to two national social fund. The FSCC allows people with huge medical disabilities to go to Ireland to pursue their aviation dreams. So it's a really well important for the typhoon display, and this follows the flight process which was started this year and was the second of
That was all right. That was all right. No, no, I want to talk to the photographer. Good enough.
One of the highlights of today's program. We're going to the Blackpool 65th anniversary of the Italian Air Force General Ambassador to the Veteran Figure Royal with our next routine with a special heritage flight on its former equipment and its future equipment. And we're currently seeing as part
turbo team, rather than having the responsibility for providing a team rotation to the different fighting units, it was stationed initially at Rivolta, stationed now with 6.
So the trick warrior transitioning to that end.
Those aircraft are a slightly upgraded version of the G91 Bristol Civil Aviation engine. With the G91 start of 1964 seat. At that point, they were flying 6 aircraft for veteran shows and they went up to 9 for more prestigious domestic events on all their international appearances. They began 9 ships for all their shows in 1965, and then they carried a 10th jet in 1966 in order to provide solos. It set their standing standard for exciting formation aerobatics during the G91 era. Maneuvers such as the Mamba, the Arizona, and the crazy flight by the solo were all introduced during the G91 years.
He said it's right with powerful, and I wrote, it is a British part that is going with G91. The business terminal failed with the British 600 taking single stage turbine and following way under 349 pounds. And basically from a
Do this own monster
centenary show, isn't it? What a lovely, lovely machine. The G91R1A of the Catalani group, flown by Maurizio Ludovisi, concluding our President Roy 65th anniversary tribute. What a team. I love to describe it with Mike as well. Thank you. Oh, it was all mine. Well, those of you who were here at the start of the show will remember we had a spectacular display by the Royal Danish Air Force F-16AM fighting Falcon, and we're lucky enough to be able to get to see it for a second time today. The final return of air taxis appearances before the Danes retire the early model fighting Falcon. A spectacular colour scheme, a really exuberant performance, and something to savour. One of the last remaining European
That's 90 decibels or more, and it says you in a loud environment. Oh, that's quick. Super lows, passing. You must have. It's going to be like crucial performance. Probably the last time we'll see him in a air show, so.
Captain Thrall's Delhi Fan from number 7275 Squadron at Streetstroop with the F-16AM. And they say on behalf of the Royal Danish Air Force, thank you for inviting us back once again. in the final year of the F-16 in their air arm. So I hope you enjoyed the Air Force's half-century fighting falcon demonstration flight of the same jet as we saw last year in the F-16 60th anniversary marking. Go to the aircraft training area. Currently, like exercise regularly other NATO partners, and they performed their first ever live air-to-air pilot training, operating a Passenger Leader in Greece in late 2023 in conjunction with LA Air Force Atom. They're going rapidly from their 540 degrees reverse or 1.5 reverse. Those legs as well starting now. Through the knife edge. Inverted. Final knife edge. It's a bit of a flourish, a half-cubanate manoeuvre. You've got the gear down now. What a final approach this is. Just superb. Won several of the flying awards in the previous years. Well, superb. So especially the crowd is probably less than who's going on the actual. There is back on the ground.
It's only 7 minutes. It's only been